Hi, welcome to episode 94 of The Corner of Knit and Tea. I'm Laura, also known as Fluffy K on Ravelry, Fluffy Kira on Instagram and Twitter. I blog over at thecornerofknitandtea.com, and that's where this episode and every episode's show notes will be. I have an Etsy shop called The Stash Buckler, Adventures in Yarn, where I sell my hand-spun yarns. And we have a Ravelry group, which is called The Corner of Knit and Tea. So hi, how are you? It is hot here again. It is Sunday, June 26th, and I am recording early in the morning because today is a spinning Sunday. So I am going to record and edit and get the podcast set uploading, and then I am going to go to a friend's house in Kansas City and spin for the afternoon, which should be just lovely. I'm very much looking forward to it. I hope you have had a wonderful week. Mine has been crazy busy and just a little bit crazy. This week was the board meeting at work, the quarterly board meetings, so there was lots to run around and do at work. And world events were a little crazy this week. I won't get into it because I don't normally get political, but that took some attention and brain power and I guess a little bit of emotional involvement. And so it was kind of an interesting week, and my heart goes out to those who are affected by it. But yes, so it has been a week. I also had kind of a strange week on knitting. Last week when I talked to you, I laid out all my plans for what I wanted to do this week. And of course, the best laid plans, things went awry. So I will be talking about that a little bit. So yeah, let's jump in. Today I am doing another cold brew. I decided to cold brew this selection. I ordered it from Teapigs. It is licorice and peppermint. I am still trying to audition licorice teas, and Teapigs, the name amused me, and they have these little sample packs where you get 2 bags of the tea. So I ordered a whole bunch of them so that I could try just all kinds of things. And I cold brewed it with ice and water in the fridge in my Minions mug. And that is really, really nice and light. I added just a little bit of sugar, and if you like licorice, that is delicious. I am probably going to have to order this one again. The other thing that I really like about Teapigs is, so I ordered, I think 6 or 7 tea samples, and all of them but one have come with a list of ingredients like this. Licorice root, 70%. Peppermint leaves, 30%. That's it. No false flavors, no nothing. If you're getting licorice and peppermint, you are getting licorice and peppermint. There was only one tea that had like more than the 2 ingredients that it listed as the flavors. Everything else is just a combo of the flavors, and that is it. So I thought that was really interesting, especially in a time when stuff comes with all kinds of weird stuff on the labels. And these are just really simple teas, and I have been enjoying them quite a bit. So that is what I'm drinking today. I'll put the link in the show notes. That is yummy. I'm going to have to, it starts with a little bit of mint and then it ends with some sweet licorice, and I really, really like it. That was delicious. So let's talk about the only thing last week that I talked about that went according to plan. As you remember, I finished the socks for myself, and I had 1 sock for my mini-me, and I did my 2nd sock on Sunday. This is Regia yarn. It was the leftovers of the socks that I made for myself, and I riffed Mina's cobblestone socks pattern, which I followed more precisely for my socks. For Roxy's socks, I kind of made up a cast-on number that's a little bit more than the socks I made for her last year, and then I did a Fish Lips Kiss heel. The pattern, well, I guess I didn't entirely stick to Mina's pattern. It calls for a German short row heel. I did a heel flap and gusset on mine. For Roxy's, I just went ahead and did Fish Lips Kiss because I just figured that would be fine for hers. So yeah, so these are done. That was one small thing that went according to plan this week. The next thing that I knit, and I briefly mentioned it last week, is that I was going to do a test knit for Mina. She is releasing some hats, I believe, that are of similar patterns to her Beyond Vanilla socks. And she asked if I would be interested in test knitting, and I delightfully said yes, delightedly said yes, because I have wanted to test knit for her for a while. I chose to use Jill Draper Make Stuff Hudson, which is her superwash merino. It is a worsted weight. It comes 240 yards to the skein, and the color is Bottle, which is bright, bright, bright green. I washed this on Friday hoping that it would be dry for today, and it is not. The yarn is a super high twist, and I think it just takes a while to dry out fully, but this is the hat that I made. It came out kind of on the big side. I need to wait for it to dry and measure it, but this is, and I don't think it's showing quite the beautiful green because it's actually a semi-solid, so there is some beautiful a little bit of tonal quality to it that I don't think you're getting. But this is the Shire Stones hat by Mina Phillip, and it will be available shortly. And I knit this on US 6 needles per the pattern. It has got a beautiful squishy double ribbed brim, and then the pattern that actually is in the cobblestone socks. So it was pretty easy to get used to, and this was a fun knit, and I'm waiting to see exactly what it will end up as. I think it will fit fine, and it will just be a slouchy hat, and I haven't decided. There was a lot of interest in this in my knit group. Oops, sorry. I've got a little bit of hair in there. There was a lot of interest in this in my knit group, so it's a little bright for me and not quite right for my skin tone, so I may take it to knit group and let them fight over it. But that is the Shire Stones hat, and will be forthcoming from Mina, I would guess. I mean, I don't know for sure, but the test knit is due by early July, so I would guess by the end of July she'll have that out. So that was the second knit for this week. The third knit is something that I showed you last week. It is the sample yarn that I got to review from Dale Garn. It is their Eco Baby Wool, which is 100% wool. It is approximately a sport weight. It comes 174 yards to 50 gram balls. And I talked about wanting to do the collared pixie hat. Well, I pulled out the pattern and I cast on as directed, and I realized that the collared pixie hat really calls for a fingering weight yarn, and I really was not happy with the fabric that I was getting. So I went ahead and did a little pattern search on Ravelry and found something that I really, really liked. It looked kind of complicated. It was full of cables. I'll show you in just a second. And I cast on Tuesday. So that was Monday. On Tuesday, I cast on and worked on the ear flaps for the hat. On Wednesday, I tried to join the ear flaps in the round and work on it at midnight, and it was kind of a complicated getting the pattern established, and I could not get it. I was really struggling with it. So I switched back to the hat that I was knitting for Mina and left the figuring out of the hat for when I got home Wednesday night. And I got home Wednesday night and looked at the pattern, and this is a Knitter Beware. I had printed out the pattern on a black and white printer, which meant that I had missed quite a bit of the color coding on the chart showing the sections that were to be repeated, and I had actually knit the ear flaps wrong and had joined in the round wrong and needed to rip the entire thing. So here I am midweek, and I have to start over. I was not pleased. So the pattern that I chose is called the Strawberry Semifredo hat, and I loved it because it was a little ear flap hat with all kinds of cables, and I was super excited because I just thought this would be adorable on Roxy. The pattern says it's by Pellick Natalie, and it says Pellick Natalie in a bunch of places. I think it's probably Natalie Pellick, and I am probably butchering her last name. I will link it in the show notes. It was a $6.50 pattern, and it was interesting because it was marked toddler, but the ranges for the brim on the hat are not entirely what I would consider toddler ranges. So the hat may come out a little bit big, but I've decided that is fine because it will fit Roxy at some point. So, and I am really enjoying knitting with the Eco Wool yarn. It stood up to a little bit of ripping at the beginning, which is always useful if not entirely desired. And yesterday I sat down and cranked on this hat because I wanted to get most of it done. Because I have other projects coming up this week, which I'll talk more about. But this is the Strawberry Semifredo hat. I am calling it the Grape Semifredo hat. And that is a good color representation and a good look at the cables. And I am, last round, I just started on the decreases. So I am getting ready to do the decreases on the brim, or on the crown, and then I will need to do, it has an I-cord edging. And as you see, the ear flaps have this cabled pattern on them, which I had missed the first time around. I had just knit them, which is why I went back and did it again. And the ear flaps themselves have this beautiful cable that then works into the rest of the hat. I'm trying to show this to you. It's there we go, a little bit. Let's see what I've got here. So it's the cable, let's see if I can get it to, there we go, that works into the rest of the hat. So it is a beautifully designed hat with the charts. When one reads the charts with the appropriate color notations, one actually is able to knit the hat as prescribed. I thought the written directions were a little confusing, but when I switched to just using the charts, that came out much nicer. And so that is what I am working on, and I hope to finish, at least get through the crown this evening, and then work on the I-cord edging this evening and maybe tomorrow and call this done. And then there will be a review of this on my blog later this week of the yarn. And like I said, I'm really enjoying knitting with it. It is a nice, it's a pretty soft wool. It is ecologically sourced from Dale Garn, which, as you know, has been around for years. It is a very nice sport weight. I'm just really enjoying working with it, and the cable definition is pretty darn good. So I am very pleased with it on that account as well. So that is sort of the best laid plans for this hat and my progress on that. And like I said, hopefully I will be able to show it to you as a finished object next week. So that is the Strawberry Semifredo, or as I'm calling it, the Grape Semifredo. And this is actually still the first ball of yarn. I am just ready to join the second ball of yarn. So it will be about a 1.5 skein project in the toddler size. But of course the pattern goes up to children's sizes. And actually I have a small head, and I think the pattern goes up to a brim that would actually fit me. And to be honest, this isn't that far off fitting me. So, so I think I could get a hat for me out of it if I chose to. So that is that. The last thing that I showed you last week was I showed you that beautiful yarn from Fido Yarns in the orchid colorway that was pinks and purples and greens, and I told you I was going to knit a baby sweater project and that it was on a tight time deadline because it was part of Harry Potter Quidditch, and I entirely meant what I said. I just totally had my dates wrong. I thought it was the 20th through the 27th. It's actually the 27th through July 3rd. So I need to finish up this hat so I can knit the baby sweater this week. So that is still in the plans, but I have not actually cast on yet because I was waiting to follow the rules. So hopefully I will finish the hat this evening and early tomorrow. So tomorrow evening I can start on the baby sweater, and that is going to be my biggest project this week because I need to get that done by July 3rd. But July is coming up this week, July 1st. Which means it is time for another installment of Camp Loopy. As you recall, I've explained Camp Loopy before. It is a little summer knit-along that the Loopy U does, and most years I have participated, some years I have not. This year I wasn't planning to, but then needed to knit some baby wear. Last month I knit the Shrug out of Dreaming Color Classy, and that was a fun knit. And this month, the prompt, there were a couple prompts. One was that it needs to be 800 yards. So this month is the big project. She always selects one of the 3 months to do a larger yardage project. And the second prompt is that it should be a pattern that has been in your queue or your favorites for more than a year. So you have been wanting to knit it and you haven't gotten around to it, and now is the time. So I decided, because it's the largest yardage project, that I knew I was going to do the baby blanket for this project. That is a baby blanket for my new nephew. So I went through and looked at patterns and selected one for my queue that I thought would be lovely, that has been in there for a while. I checked, and I think it was something like October 12th, 2011 was when I, or maybe... Yeah, I think 2011 was when I favorited it. So it has been in there for a while, and I thought it would be perfect for a baby boy. And it is a Garter Ridge Afghan. And I did not print out the pattern yet because this is the week that I'll get to cast it on, so I just haven't gotten ready for it yet. But I did bring the yarn. I decided, I don't know exactly what my fascination is with Dreaming Color Classy, but I decided to use it for my second project as well. And as you have seen in recent months, I am absolutely fascinated by green. And I decided that I really liked this springy green. I thought it was a great color for a boy, and I also thought that it would be kind of bright and fun, but also kind of rich and jewel-toned. The colorway is called Tart. I actually have 4 skeins, but I just unwrapped the first package, and Classy comes 250 yards to the skein, so I actually have 1,000 yards. I will probably use 800 or 900. I may not completely finish the skein. If I have leftovers, I may make him a hat out of it. That would be kind of cute. Anyway, so this is going to be his blanket. And I need to cast on July 1st for that, and I need to work on it a lot because normally it would not be a problem for me to get 1,000 yards done in a month, but as of the 2nd, it is Tour de Fleece, which I will talk about in just a minute. So this is the other project that I expect to cast on before I speak with you next, and I'm hoping that the 4th of July weekend, being off work a little bit, will give me some time to work on it, and that I will get that baby sweater done before July 1st or 2nd, so that I can get started right away on this one. So, I have not done a tally of my Stash Dash yardage yet, because I included the Mina hat and the baby socks, but I am not done with the Semifredo yet, so I haven't obviously included that yardage yet. And my handspun isn't quite dry yet, so I couldn't include that yardage. I do know that as of the middle of the week, when I included, well, I guess I included the Mina hat, I am up to 4,400 yards, or sorry, 4,400 meters, for Stash Dash. So once I finish the hat and I won't quite get to 5,000 this week. But I am hoping that with a bunch of the other knits, well, I suppose if I finish the baby sweater this week, I will surpass 5,000. And if I finish another spin this week. So by the time I record next, I should be over 5,000 meters. 5,000 meters. I think of everything in yards, and when I'm tracking in my stash, I track it in yards. I don't convert to meters. But by next weekend, I should be at 5,000 meters, and that is about halfway through Stash Dash. So I actually might be able to make 10,000. We'll have to think about that. So that finishes the knitting. Which brings me to spinning this week. Last week I showed you some gorgeous bats from Nunoko, and I said that I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do with them. I thought I was going to keep them separate. I decided later on, I changed my mind. Prerogative, and I decided to do a gradient spin. So I actually had some questions on Instagram this week about how I would do that with my bats, and I did a few photo illustrations. They're quick and dirty. They were not super beautiful. Basically what I did is I opened up, the bats came all rolled up, and I opened the bat and laid it flat. and then I divided it width-wise in half. That is because, well, you know, I have another set. Let me see. Hang on 2 seconds. Ooh. Let me see if I can show you with another set. I bought these as well from Nunoko, so let me talk about what I did, even though I'm not going to spin these right now. Excuse the crinkling. It will make more sense if I talk to you about what I did. Of course, I'll never be able to package them as nicely, but I'll live. Okay, so you start with a bat like this. The first thing that I did is I unrolled the bat very carefully. As you can see, it unrolls. It's basically flat the way it comes off the drum carder. And so I unrolled the bat completely. Then what I did was I tore it in half this way. That was because what I wanted to do was I wanted to two-ply it, and because it was a gradient and each bat was separate. One bat went from yellow to pink and one bat went from pink to purple. I needed to have two separate halves that were the same so that I could basically spin for a two-ply. The final thing that I did, see, and I'm never going to be able to roll this up nicely. Then what I did was I tore the bat into strips lengthwise so that I had, in this example, I had one strip that's going to be this aquamarine, and then one strip that's like this lavender, and one strip that's this darker purple, and one strip that's this like very dark purple, almost black. And then I spun those one at a time, end to end. And the reason I did that was because I like working with smaller bits of fiber. I find that if I work with the full bat, because the other way you can do it is you can work with the full bat and you can spin, you can either spin Z-style across the bat, or you can just try and spin from the end of the bat and kind of just keep pulling out little bits of it. I just find that the fiber becomes unwieldy and that I get lots of fuzzies and flyaways, and that the management is a little bit harder, and so I don't enjoy spinning like that. So I, like I said, I strip it. I actually also strip a lot of my braids to spin smaller amounts at a time. Some people will tell you that's cheating. I think it's just however it works best for you. So that was a lot of talk. You can see the pictures on Instagram, and I ended up with a gradient that went from yellow to pink to purple. It is a very soft gradient. There are lots of sections where the pink and yellow kind of overlap and create what I thought of as like a little lemonade section. There are sections where the pink and purple overlap, and then there are a couple sections where it's pink against pink and yellow against yellow and purple against purple. So this is what I have finished. This probably shows it a little bit better. It is a subtle gradient. I suspect it is about 250 yards of sport weight. The other thing with these bats is they had, it was merino and silk and Firestar, and part of the silk was in silk noil. So there were kind of textured bits in this that I spun in. So overall, it is not as smooth or consistent as I usually spin. It's a little bit more in the arty direction. And that is because they had bits and pieces in them that just don't lend themselves to super smooth spinning, like I said, like silk noil and some of the other things. So I haven't decided if I'm going to put this up in the shop. If there's anyone who's interested in it, please speak up. Otherwise, I was thinking I might actually save it for a giveaway. We are getting close to episode 100. I need prizes for Tour de Fleece. So I have a bunch of things that I could do with this skein of yarn. And I am thinking about it. But like I said, if anyone sees this and really, really wants it, it will probably be about 250 yards of a sport weight. It would make a beautiful shawlette. It is super soft. And I will take better pictures for my Instagram feed and Ravelry project pages later today, and you'll be able to see that. It's still just a little bit damp, so I haven't done a final weigh and measure on it. So that brings me to what I will be spinning this week. I am taking this to Spinning Sunday, and that means that I will probably get through quite a bit of it today. This is a beautiful Southern Cross fiber braid. I haven't spun his fiber in a little while, and it is stacking up because I am in his club. This is a club braid from earlier this year. It is called Resistance is Feudal. It is not showing up as well as I would like to. It's got some beautiful aqua blues, teals, some bright pops of green in there. Actually, that's not a bad representation. It is a Polworth silk braid, which is one of my favorite blends. And so this is what I will look to spin this week and hopefully actually finish this braid by Saturday, because Saturday is when Tour de Fleece starts. So, Tour de Fleece is one of my favorite times of year. I've talked about this a few times, and those of you who are spinners already know what I'm talking about probably, but I will mention it again. Tour de Fleece is a Ravelry spin-along that goes along with the Tour de France. And the Tour de France runs July 2nd through, I think, either the 23rd or the 24th. It's whatever the Sunday is. And it usually starts in what we consider July 4th, Independence Day weekend in the United States. Of course, that's not why they choose to start then, but that always coincides, and I'm always excited about that because it means the first weekend of the tour I am off work. I actually like to watch the bike race. I purchase a special pass so that I can watch those online because we don't have cable anymore. But that is not mandatory. The plan for Tour de Fleece is to just spin. And I actually have a Corner of Knit and Tea Tour de Fleece group, and I have mentioned that before. If you are interested in spinning on a team and do not have one, please come and join us. The rules on my team are pretty simple. Spin. That's pretty much it. Spin. Come show us your project, post photos, chat in the thread. You have to be a member of the group if you want to be eligible for prizes. That's the only other real rule. Chat, spin. I will run the random number generator for some prizes throughout the Tour de Fleece. I have some fiber that I will be giving away. And then I will do probably one kind of grand prize. At the end of the Tour de Fleece, I will open a special thread and ask you to post a photo of all of your spins, or as many of your spins are still in, or you can collage or whatever. I mean, I'm going to spin some for the shop, so I always find that a couple of them get sold before the end of the tour. But basically, I will ask each person who participated to do a collage of or a picture of everything they spun. Each person will get one entry, and then I will do a random number generator for a grand prize. So, and I have some really great fiber that I'm going to give away. So if you want to participate, you should. Like I said, the only thing you have to do is spin and post in our thread. And be a group member if you want to win prizes. If you don't want to be eligible for prizes and don't want to join the group, you can just come and talk anyway. But like I said, there are no rules. You can spin on a wheel, you can spin on a spindle, you can spin on a charka, you can spin on pretty much anything you want. You can spin any kind of fiber. There are no rules about that. I try and keep it very rules-free so that as many people can participate as possible. You can also spin on other teams, and you can double dip. Seriously, just spin and show us what you're spinning, and if you want to, chat and comment on other people spinning, cheerlead for each other, and we'll all have a great time. Tour de Fleece is my favorite time of year because I spend an inordinate amount of time at my wheel. I usually divide my time between my wheel and my knitting, and sometimes I feel stressed about whether I am spending enough time spinning or spending enough time knitting. And Tour de Fleece for me is like a free pass to do nothing but spin. Now, I will knit because I will knit on my lunch hour. I will knit if I go places. I will knit at knit nights. Even though sometimes I'm tempted to skip knit night and come home and spin, I always go to knit night. And I will obviously need to be knitting for the blanket, the blanket for my nephew. But when I come home in the evening, I will probably pretty much do nothing but spin. And I just absolutely love this time of year. It is one of my favorite parts of summer. So I thought that I would show you some of what I want to spin for Tour de Fleece. I do have a collection of braids that will go up in the shop. And so I did not bring those with me. They are a variety of fibers. I have some Hello Yarn in there. I have some Southern Cross fiber, and I have one Woolly Wonka fibers. Those are all teams that I'm going to dip into sometimes. Those teams, well, not the Woolly Wonka fibers. Woolly Wonka Fibers is run by my friend Anne Podlesack. She owns Woolly Wonka Fibers, and she has a podcast of the same name. She was the one who helped me do the shawl knit along this year. And her rules are pretty much the same as mine. I decided to join her team, but I decided to purchase a little bit of her fiber and spin that to be on her team. But actually, her rules are I can spin anything. The Hello Yarn and Southern Cross Fiber teams, their rules are that you only spin their fiber. So I will dip into their groups on days and times that I am spinning their fiber, but otherwise I will stick to my own group. So it's going to be a lot of posting and a lot of fun. So like I said, I have a collection of braids for the shop that I will spin. I also decided to start on a project for me. I have been very interested in knitting a hap shawl for a long time now. Hap shawls are a tradition of the Shetland Islands, and actually Kate Davies just released a book all about hap shawls that has a number of beautiful hap shawl patterns in it. I actually think I'm going to do probably, and hap shawls come in half hap, which are triangular shawls, and a full hap, which is usually a square shawl. And normally hap shawls, at least the way I think of the traditional hap shawls, they have a square in the center that is pretty plain. It is usually either stockinette or garter. And then there is some Shetland lace, which often looks a little bit like feather and fan in different colors at the edging. And then sometimes after that, a kind of lacy border. And the one that I am actually thinking about is Gudrun Johnson's full hap. I believe that's the one that I like. But I haven't completely decided because part of it will depend on the yardage that I get. But I wanted to show you what I plan to do for the hap shawl. So a friend of mine, when she was cleaning out her stash, gave me this beautiful Shetland sampler. It is 5 2-ounce bundles of Shetland, and it is in white and then a mixed with like white and brown and then a gray and then a black. And I decided that I wanted to use these colors for the distinctive edging where the where I said it's a little bit like well, it's Shetland lace, it's a little bit like feather and fan, and I decided I wanted to use these really natural colors to do that pattern work at the edge. So like I said, each one of these is 2 ounces, and I will spin that up probably 2 ply so that I can use that for the decorative lace edging. For the body of the shawl, I have some fiber. Technically, it is not Shetland, and technically, I believe all hap shawls have to be in Shetland. But I purchased this very rustic wool. It is Jacob, and it is dyed in indigo. I purchased this when I went to Estes Park several years ago. And originally I purchased it for a sweater, and I have been mixed about spinning it because it has a lot of vegetable matter in it. I don't know how much you can see, but it has a lot of little sticks and twigs and things that need to be picked out while I'm spinning it. And this is one of those things that if I had it to do again, I probably wouldn't buy it today. But I have an obscene amount of it because this ball is 8 ounces, and I think I have another 8-ounce ball and another 4-ounce ball. So I have quite a bit of the Jacob. And I don't think I will need to spin all of it for this project, but I thought kind of this indigo blue Jacob with then the natural patterning on the edging would be really nice, and I thought it would be a good use for this fiber. So I am going to start working on this. I'm hoping to finish the Shetland kit and at least make a little bit of headway on this one, and this may be a longer term spinning project because I have to check the yardage, but I'm sure that I need probably close to 1,000 yards of the main color before I start working. So this is an entirely spinning from stash project, and I'm hoping maybe to knit this later this year, or depending on how long it takes me to spin it sometime next year. So, but I think this would also be a really excellent winter knitting project. So that is kind of my plan. So, this podcast has been a little bit long. I guess I'm making up for last week's episode, which is super short. I hope you have had a great week and that you are crafting to your heart's delight. If you are a spinner, I hope you will join us for Tour de Fleece because, like I said, it is one of my favorite times of year. And if you are not a spinner and want to just come hang out in the thread and chat and see what everybody's up to, you are more than welcome to do that. And please come join our group and just see what's going on. So I guess that's about it for this week. I will let you go, and I will say, as I always do, happy spinning, happy, I screw up my own tagline. How crazy is that? Okay, happy knitting, happy spinning, happy sipping, and I'll see you next time. Bye.